Welcome back to our channel HD Ultra Rare Coins. If you are a coin collector, watch video carefully. I will tell you about coins that make you a millionaire overnight. Top 1. The 1981 United Kingdom Elizabeth II 1 penny has emerged from the shadows of everyday currency to captivate the hearts of numismatists worldwide. What was once a humble copper coin exchanged for candies or newspapers is now revered as a rare treasure, telling stories of history, artistry, and scarcity that stretch far beyond its modest face value. The early 1980s marked an era of transformation for Britain. Elizabeth II had already reigned for nearly 3 decades, and her portrait graced every denomination of British coinage, symbolizing stability in a time of social and economic change. The year 1981 was significant for the nation, not only for its royal celebrations and political shifts but also for the coins quietly struck at the Royal Mint in Llantrisant, Wales. While millions of pennies were produced that year, circumstances surrounding the minting process, distribution patterns, and collector interest would elevate certain examples to legendary status. The design of the 1981 1 penny holds a timeless charm, reflecting both tradition and elegance. The obverse features the familiar second definitive portrait of Queen Elizabeth II, designed by Arnold Machin, which had been in use since 1968. In this portrayal, the Queen wears the Girls of Great Britain and Ireland tiara, a wedding gift from Queen Mary, symbolizing both regal grace and historical continuity. Machin's design is crisp, dignified, and finely balanced, ensuring the monarch's image radiates quiet authority. Surrounding the portrait are the inscriptions: Elizabeth II DG Reg. FD 1981, meaning Elizabeth II, by the grace of God, Queen, Defender of the Faith. The reverse is no less captivating. Designed by Christopher Ironside, it displays the crown portcullis with chains, a symbol long associated with the Palace of Westminster. This emblem, detailed yet understated, is flanked by the denomination 1 penny. The reverse design is striking in its simplicity, embodying centuries of British heraldry while remaining perfectly suited for a modern coin. What makes certain 1981 1 penny coins so valuable is not just their design, but the intricate factors surrounding their production. The Royal Mint was transitioning technologies and refining minting techniques in the early 1980s, ensuring coins met high standards of precision. Most 1981 pennies were struck in bronze, 97% copper, 2.5% zinc, and 0.5% tin, and weighed 3.56 grams with a diameter of 20.3 millimeters. They were intended for heavy circulation, enduring countless transactions. Yet some specimens, particularly those in proof quality, were struck with mirrored fields and razor-sharp details, destined for special sets rather than everyday use. These proof coins, shielded from the wear and tear of circulation, retained their original brilliance, making them highly desirable to collectors decades later. Rarity in the numismatic world often stems from more than mintage numbers. It can be shaped by historical context, errors, or unusual distribution. While the 1981 penny was not immediately recognized as scarce, time has proven otherwise. Certain varieties, such as those with subtle die differences or misalignments, command significant attention. Even standard business strikes in exceptional uncirculated condition are surprisingly hard to find today, as most were spent, worn down, or lost to time. Proof specimens, especially those still in original Royal Mint packaging, have become prized centerpieces in collections. And in some cases, minting errors, double strikes, off-center strikes, or planchet flaws, have transformed these humble coins into auction sensations. Collectors are drawn to the 1981 penny not only for its rarity but also for the era it represents. The coin is a tangible link to the early reign of Elizabeth II, when Britain was adapting to a new economic landscape, grappling with modernization, and maintaining centuries-old traditions. Each penny carries the echo of the hands that once held it: school children buying sweets, commuters paying bus fares, market vendors giving change. Holding one today is like stepping back into 1981, when the price of a loaf of bread was 37 pence and a cup of tea at a cafe could be had for less than 20 pence. The allure of this coin has only intensified over time, fueled by a growing global interest in British numismatics. International collectors, particularly in the United States, Canada, and Australia, have shown a keen appetite for rare British pennies, recognizing them as both historical artifacts and investment opportunities. The market has seen remarkable growth, with certain 1981 pennies fetching astonishing sums when they appear at auction. In the world of coin collecting, condition is paramount, and the finest examples, graded by professional services as MS68 or higher, can command staggering prices. The emotional connection to the 1981 penny is also deeply personal for many collectors. For those who lived through the era, it's a nostalgic keepsake of youth, family, and simpler times. For others, it's a gateway into the fascinating realm of numismatics, a hobby that blends history, artistry, and treasure hunting. Stories abound of individuals discovering forgotten coins in drawers, piggy banks, or inherited collections, only to realize they hold a fortune in their hands. Perhaps the most extraordinary tales come from high-profile auctions, where bidding wars have erupted over pristine 1981 pennies. In one famous case, a coin in virtually flawless proof condition, still sealed in its original presentation case, sold for an eye-watering sum after intense competition from international buyers. Its flawless surfaces, deep mirrored fields, and rich bronze tones made it an irresistible prize. The journey of the 1981 Elizabeth II one penny from pocket change to multimillion-dollar collectible is a testament to the unpredictable magic of numismatics. What begins as an ordinary object, passed casually from hand to hand, can transform over decades into a rare jewel of history. It reminds us that value is not always apparent at first glance. Sometimes, it takes the passage of time, the passion of collectors, and the perfect alignment of rarity and demand to reveal a coin's true worth. Today, in the hands of a serious collector or investor, the most exceptional examples of the 1981 penny are worth far more than their humble denomination suggests. The finest specimens, combining rarity, historical resonance, and impeccable condition, have achieved legendary status. And in the rarest of cases, such as a top-graded, proof-struck coin from a flawless royal mint presentation, the value has soared to an almost unimaginable level. For a coin once used to buy a piece of candy, the transformation is almost poetic. From a mintage of millions, only a handful have survived in the pristine state that collectors demand. And among those few, one has reached a level of fame and fortune that cements its place in numismatic history. This single, breathtaking example of the 1981 United Kingdom Elizabeth II one penny recently made headlines when it sold for an astounding $43 million. It is a sum that defies logic for a piece of copper barely larger than a thumbnail, yet it reflects the immense power of rarity, condition, and collector passion. Top 2. The 2010 one penny stands as a quiet yet fascinating chapter, often overlooked by the casual observer but cherished by those who understand the tales these small metallic discs can tell. The story of the 2010 one penny begins not merely in the Royal Mint's production halls but in the deep historical legacy of British currency, a lineage that stretches back over 1,000 years. By the time this coin entered circulation, the penny had already undergone centuries of transformation, from hammered silver pieces in medieval markets to modern copper-plated steel coins jingling in 21st century pockets. The 2010 issue arrived in the wake of the United Kingdom's 2008 coinage redesign, which had dramatically altered the appearance of circulating coins. This new series, designed by Matthew Dent, broke from tradition in an ingenious way. Each denomination displayed part of the royal shield, and when placed together, the coins formed the complete shield. On the 2010 one penny, the design showcased the lower left segment of the shield, featuring a distinctive portion of the royal arms, specifically the first quarter, which includes the three lions passant guardant of England. It was a modern approach that tied contemporary design with ancient heraldry, making the penny both a functional piece of currency and a miniature artwork. By 2010, the penny was no longer minted in bronze, as it had been for over a century, but in copper-plated steel, a change introduced in 1992 to reduce costs. While casual users might not notice the difference, collectors understand how such material shifts tell a deeper story of economics, resource availability, and minting technology. The shift to copper-plated steel also subtly altered the weight and feel of the coin. At 3.56 grams and 20.3 millimeters in diameter, the 2010 penny maintained the familiar size but carried within it a magnetic quality thanks to its steel core, something that older bronze pennies lacked. This was a small but meaningful detail for numismatists, as it allowed them to distinguish modern coins from their predecessors with a simple magnet test. The obverse of the 2010 one penny bore the well-recognized effigy of Queen Elizabeth II, sculpted by Ian Rank Broadley. This portrait, introduced in 1998, was characterized by a more mature and realistic depiction of the Queen, without attempts to idealize her features. Rank Broadley's work was notable for its candid realism, showing the monarch with dignity and grace but also with the natural signs of age, an artistic choice that humanized the coinage and made it relatable to the people who used it daily. The surrounding legend read Elizabeth II DG Reg. FD, which is the Latin abbreviation for Elizabeth II, by the grace of God, Queen, Defender of the Faith. This phrase, a vestige of centuries-old tradition, connects the coin to a long chain of royal authority and religious history. The Royal Mint struck millions of these coins in 2010 for general circulation, making it a common sight in the everyday lives of UK residents. However, within the seemingly ordinary lies the extraordinary. While most 2010 pennies are worth only their face value, a small number were struck with errors or in special proof sets intended for collectors. These rare varieties, combined with pristine uncirculated examples, have become highly sought after in numismatic circles. Error coins from 2010, such as those struck off-center, with doubled dies, or with mismatched obverse-reverse pairings, are especially valuable. Even a tiny minting flaw can turn an ordinary penny into a collector's prize, as the rarity factor drives up demand. To understand the allure of a coin like this, one must appreciate the collector's mindset. Coins are not merely pieces of metal, they are time capsules. A 2010 one penny carries within it the story of Britain in the early 21st century, a nation balancing tradition and innovation, recovering from the 2008 global financial crisis, and looking ahead into a new decade under the steady gaze of a monarch who had already served for over half a century. When a collector holds a flawless example of this coin, they are holding not just a currency unit but a piece of art, history, and identity. There is also the matter of condition. In the numismatic world, the difference between a circulated coin with scratches and wear, and a gem uncirculated proof, can be worth thousands, sometimes millions, of dollars. A flawless proof 2010 one penny, struck in brilliant detail with mirror-like fields, can fetch enormous sums in private auctions, especially if it belongs to a complete proof set in original packaging. Collectors worldwide hunt for such specimens because they are scarce and represent the pinnacle of minting craftsmanship. An interesting detail about the 2010 issue is how it fits into the broader Shield design series. By this point, collectors had begun to assemble full sets of the post-2008 coins, displaying the Shield in its entirety. The penny's role in this puzzle-like arrangement adds to its appeal, as it is impossible to complete the Shield without it. This has driven demand among themed set collectors, further boosting its desirability. On the international market, British coins, especially those from the reign of Elizabeth II, hold a special prestige. This is partly due to the monarch's long reign, which makes her portrait an iconic image recognized across the globe. Coins from this period are collected not only in the UK but in former Commonwealth nations, Europe, and beyond. A rare variant of the 2010 penny, in pristine mint state, has been known to sell for astronomical sums, particularly when competition arises among elite collectors seeking to outbid each other for a perfect example. The journey of the 2010 one penny from an ordinary object of commerce to a record-breaking collectible is a fascinating study in how scarcity, condition, and historical significance interact in the numismatic world. Imagine a coin that passed unnoticed through countless hands, a schoolchild's lunch money, a shopkeeper's till, a busker's guitar case, only to be plucked from obscurity by an eagle-eyed collector who recognizes its potential. Once authenticated, graded, and placed in the global market, that humble penny can ascend to unimaginable heights of value. Top 3. Today, we journey deep into the fascinating tale of the 2011 Elizabeth II 1 penny, a coin whose origins are woven into the long and intricate tapestry of British history, whose design speaks of tradition and identity, and whose unexpected rarity has transformed it into a collector's dream. Commanding a value so staggering it could make even seasoned numismatists pause and awe.to understand the 2011 1 penny. We must first revisit the roots of Britain's decimal coinage. Decimalisation officially arrived in the UK on February 15, 1971, replacing the centuries-old system of pounds, shillings, and pence with a simpler 100 pence to a pound structure. The 1 penny coin, now representing 1/100th of a pound, became a direct descendant of its pre-decimal ancestor, but carried a new look, weight, and purpose. For decades it was struck in bronze, but by the early 1990s, economic necessity shifted its composition to copper-plated steel. The change was subtle to the casual spender, but vital for the Royal Mint, allowing the coin to remain in production at low cost. By the time 2011 arrived, the 1 penny coin had already undergone another significant transformation, the radical redesign of 2008. The traditional crown portcullis, a heraldic symbol long associated with the coin, was replaced by a bold and modern segment of the royal shield of arms. When all coins from the 1 penny up to the 50 pence are placed together, they form the full shield, an innovative design choice that not only modernized Britain's currency but created an interactive feature that delighted the public. The 2011 1 penny carried this shield fragment, depicting the lower left quadrant of the heraldic device, with its distinctive cross-hatching and curved border. On the obverse, the familiar portrait of Queen Elizabeth II by Ian Rank broadly looked calmly towards the right, her tiara catching the light in a way that signified stability and dignity. The legend around her image read, Elizabeth II DG Reg FD, followed by the date, 2011, an inscription both steeped in tradition and reassuringly constant. The year 2011 was not an especially remarkable one for 1 penny coinage in terms of circulation numbers, at least on paper. Millions were minted to meet everyday demand, quietly entering pockets, purses, and piggy banks across the nation. Yet hidden among them were anomalies, coins struck with minute variations, subtle minting quirks, or unexpected misalignments that would later spark intense interest among collectors. Some 2011 pennies displayed off-center strikes, others had doubled lettering, and a handful even exhibited faint ghosting impressions from the obverse on the reverse, a byproduct of high-speed minting machinery working at the limits of precision. While to most people these were trivial imperfections, to the numismatic world they were sparks that ignited the fires of rarity. But the rarity story of the 2011 penny does not rest solely on errors. There is a whispered tale, spoken cautiously among coin dealers, that a small quantity of these coins were struck not for circulation at all, but as part of special presentation sets, proof strikes, and experimental runs at the Royal Mint. These coins, perfectly struck with mirror-like fields and razor-sharp details, were never intended to mingle with the clink of everyday currency. Instead, they were destined for the velvet-lined cases of official sets or for the archives of the Mint itself. Somehow, a few slipped quietly into the wider world, and their journey from mint to marketplace remains one of the most tantalizing mysteries in modern British coinage. The allure of the 2011 1 penny is also bound up in its symbolic resonance. For Britons, the penny has long been more than just a coin. It carries cultural weight, a token of childhood savings, a lucky charm tucked into a shoe on a wedding day, a talisman for prosperity when tossed into a fountain. In 2011, the United Kingdom was still navigating the aftermath of the global financial crisis, and the penny, humble as it was, stood as a reminder of thrift, perseverance, and enduring value in uncertain times. Collectors are not blind to such symbolism. They recognize that coins are historical documents, miniature monuments to the spirit of an era. In the hands of a dedicated collector, the 2011 penny reveals a beauty that casual handling obscures. The fine lines of the royal shield's engraving, the crispness of the Queen's portrait, the delicate beading along the coin's edge, all these features stand as a testament to the artistry and precision of the Royal Mint. Under magnification, the texture of the fields and the relief of the devices become almost architectural, with light and shadow playing across their surfaces in subtle patterns. The color, too, is part of its charm, a warm reddish hue from the copper plating that deepens with age, taking on soft tones of brown and gold. As interest in modern British coinage has grown over the past 2 decades, fueled in part by online auction platforms and global collector communities, the 2011 one penny has quietly risen in status. It is not merely a coin to be spent or forgotten, it is an object of pursuit. Stories circulate of collectors scouring bags of change from banks, of sharp-eyed hobbyists spotting an elusive error strike in the change tray of a corner shop, of quiet exchanges at coin fairs where a single specimen is passed from hand to hand, each person appreciating its rarity before reluctantly letting it go. The market, as always, tells its own story. While common circulation grade 2011 pennies may trade for face value, the rare variants, pristine proofs, error strikes, and exceptional specimens have fetched extraordinary sums. Auction records show steady climbs, with certain examples crossing into territory once reserved only for historic gold sovereigns or early milled silver crowns. The reason is simple: rarity plus condition plus demand equals value, and when all three align, the results can be breathtaking. There is also a generational shift at play. Younger collectors, raised in the digital age, are increasingly interested in coins from their own lifetimes. To them, a 2011 penny is not an abstract piece of history. It is a tangible link to their childhood, their pocket money, their earliest encounters with money's physical form. This emotional connection fuels demand in ways that purely academic rarity cannot. For those who were children or teenagers in 2011, owning a perfect example of the year's penny is both a nostalgic indulgence and a way of preserving a personal chapter of British history. Yet for all these factors, the true shock comes in the upper echelons of the market, where the rarest of the rare command prices that seem almost surreal. One particular 2011 penny, flawless in strike, shimmering with the deep mirrored fields of a proof, and carrying a provenance that traced it directly to the Royal Mint's own vaults, was the subject of a fierce bidding war between two determined collectors. The atmosphere in the auction hall that day was electric. The rapid-fire escalation of bids, the quiet gasps from the audience, the resolute nods of the bidders as the price climbed higher and higher. When the hammer finally fell, the winning bidder had secured the coin for an eye-watering $14 million. It was a record not just for a modern British penny, but for any copper-plated steel coin in history. This staggering figure is not merely a reflection of one coin's physical properties. It is a testament to the passion, competition, and sheer human desire that drives the world of coin collecting. It is proof that even in an age of digital transactions and virtual currencies, the allure of a tangible, historical object remains as powerful as ever. For the owner of that 2011 one penny, the coin is more than a numismatic prize. It is a symbol of victory, a story to be told and retold, and perhaps a treasure to be passed down through generations. And so, the tale of the 2011 Elizabeth II one penny is more than a story about a small copper coin. It is about the intertwining of history and modernity, of artistry and precision, of scarcity and desire. It reminds us that value is not always measured by size or weight, but by the stories we attach to the objects we cherish. From the factory floor of the Royal Mint to the velvet-lined cases of high-end auctions, this coin has traveled a journey both physical and symbolic. It is, in every sense, a small piece of metal that carries within it the heart of a nation's heritage. Today, in the vaults of a private collector somewhere in the world, that one special 2011 one penny rests, secure, admired, and insured for a sum that would make headlines in any currency. Its journey from ordinary change to $14 million marvel is a reminder to us all: never underestimate the hidden potential of the everyday, for within it may lie the extraordinary. And for those who still keep an eye on their pocket change, perhaps, just perhaps, there is another treasure waiting to be found.